Welcome to
How
the
you
show.
doing, dude?
Hey, fine. It's happening.
It's happening. We're
Hey,
back.
It's how many times in town now in Montreal? Like 4 times?
It's like the 4th or the 5th, huh?
I know probably you talked about that a lot, but the beginnings of Motley Crue, it wasn't easy at the beginning. How did all that begin? You guys met together.
Well, I mean, this band's we've been together almost 10 years now, you know, and I think back on each previous album, and I think of Struggle, and that was sort of how the band has started. We struggled out of Los Angeles to become different, you know. Everything was new wave and punk. Punk was great. We were very influenced by punk, you know, and the attitude of punk rock. But what we came from was, you know, struggling, and I still feel like we're struggling to do something different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've peaked out yet. I really don't think Dr. Feelgood's it. I don't think so.
I'm sure it's not.
Yeah.
Even though it's very, very good.
It's great, but we got some new ideas that are hot.
So how did you get a deal at that 10 years ago? Was it hard to meet someone in Los Angeles?
No one would sign us. Nobody. They wanted us to cut our hair and play like nice little pop songs. And we put out our own album. It cost $7,000 to make the album. And we played club gigs to get the money. And we owed like still $4,000 to the to the recording studio after. And we could only get like $3,000 up. And we got a manager at the time who worked as a financial backer, and we built 2 big drum risers and 2 large amp screens, and everything was oversized and animated. And we'd go into clubs where they were used to having these bands play that would have like a little Fender Princeton and a little tiny bass amp, and they would just stand there and play. We'd go in and trash the place, you know. And the kids, we were getting the punk fans. And punk fans were just into the aggression. You know, and then, like, as you see now, you know, punk has sort of turned into speed metal, you know, and I think we've grown away from that. I think our attitude's the same, but musically we were more like a Rolling Stones influenced type band, traditional blues, rock and roll.
The real thing.
Well, I mean, the real thing for us, you know. Well, I think we've mixed all different styles, attitudes and looks and you know, musical styles and visual styles to become something somewhat different, you know.
Is it easier for you to create now, to write down and to play?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, I sort of feel like a 31-year-old teenager, and I had this realization when I was reading something about Aerosmith one day. It mentioned Steven Tyler, and I think Steven's 41, and it says, the 41-year-old teenager frontman of Aerosmith, and I said, that's exactly what I am. I'm like a little kid again, because we, as drug addicts, stopped growing at a certain point, and we're just like, how can I explain it? We just
you got back to the roots, and then
we just got to a certain point and we stopped growing, you know, and when all of this happened, we started growing again, and everything is exciting, musically and personally, and so you're like a kid again, you know?
Right. Even if you guys have a very powerful inner strength, being a band, I know you have solo projects, like you may be writing a book and producing other bands. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we think it's healthy to, you know, if you have something you want to do it. And I've talked about producing, Tommy's talked about producing, Tommy's played on other people's albums, Mick has already produced a band out of Los Angeles. I've done some outside writing. Vince has participated in a couple movies. We've written a soundtrack for a movie which is coming up, Ford Fairlane, a song called Rock and Roll Junkie, the book of poetry, which is something, you know, that I like to do. Mick would like to do a solo album, and I would like to produce a solo album for Vince, either with or without Tommy, depending on if Tommy's you know, interested in doing it at that time, because we'd like to do some production stuff together as well. So there's all these little things happening that keep it exciting and busy, but the main core is the band, you know. And we're not the kind of band that goes like, oh, Vince is doing a solo album, you know, what's his problem? Doesn't he like the band? Yeah, but it's not like that.
It's open doors.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Vince's solo album was my idea.
And you propose that to him, and
Yeah.
he say, hey,
Yeah, I had a certain idea of something I thought would be great for him to do, and nobody has a voice like Vince. When you hear Vince's voice, you know it's Motley Crue, and I said, you know, it would be great to use your voice for something else. And this idea, which I don't want to expose, because then somebody else will do it, you know, and he was like, yeah, great, I'd be up for doing it, you know.
The next project of Motley Crue, record-wise, is a compilation, best cuts.
Yeah. It's going to be called The Decade of Decadence, 81 to 91.
Before we let you go back to your work, I know that you talk about the next album for 93, maybe a next album.
Yeah, probably late 92.
And is it going to be like more heavy or more...
No ballads.
No ballads.
I mean, we don't want anything to do with ballads. We've exhausted our, you know, abilities to write ballads. We have a few extra ones in the can that we've written. We just like got on a ballad writing streak, and we didn't mean to. And we sort of feel like we need to rebel against what every band is doing right now. It seems like you come out with a rocker, and then the second video is a ballad, and you know, we just
seems too easy, maybe.
It seems too easy. Yeah, I want to go against the grain. So the next album after Decade of Decadence is going to be very raw. The rawest we've ever done.
You think you're going to hire Bob Rock as a producer again?
Without a doubt.
Yeah?
He's the best.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Nikki Sixx.
Okay, thanks.